ਯਾਰਕ ਰੀਜਨਲ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਨੇ CBSA ਦੀ ਮਦਦ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ 52 ਸਟੋਲਨ ਵਹੀਕਲਸ ਓਨਟਾਰੀਓ 'ਚ ਰਿਕਵਰ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ, ਜਿਹਦੀ ਵੈਲਿਊ 3.2 ਮਿਲੀਅਨ ਦੱਸੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਆ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਗੱਡੀਆਂ ਰਿਕਵਰ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਜ਼ਰਬਾਈਜਾਨ ਔਰ यूरोप के अंदर जॉर्जिया के अंदर शिप करना सीगा, लेकिन पुलिस फोर्सिस को जो रिसोर्सिस है वो बार बार गड्डियां दी चोरी जी उन्हों की शिपमेंट फड़ते हैं, लेकिन आए कि जोड़े क्रिमिनल्स है वो बार बार छुट जाते हैं। बेल रिफॉर्म से जो नवा लॉ आया जनवरी च वो देखना कि कितना इफेक्टिव होएगा। सो ये 11 जनियां नूं अरेस्ट किया गया है, जिहदे च एक विपन दत्ता भी है 20 साल के, और बाकी जी लिस्ट है असीं इत्थे 11 जनियां की शो कर रहे हैं स्क्रीन पर, और इन्हां ते 96 चार्जिस लाए गए हैं। और फैडरल की गल करिए, फैडरल सरकार ने फाइनली वो कहते देर आए तो दुरुस्त आए, फाइनली फैडरल सरकार ने 8 फरवरी को कैनेडा वाइड जी नैशनल ऑटो सबमिट, क्योंकि गड्डियां की चोरी एक नैशनल क्राइसिस है, सो ऑटो सबमिट फैडरल ऑटो सबमिट रखी है 8 फरवरी को। देखना वो वक्-वक् एजेंसियां मिल के, मैन्युफैक्चरर्स मिल के की वो जड़ियाँ चेंजिस और की वो ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग करके चेंजिस लियाऊगियाँ। असी खास गलबात की है ब्रैम्पटन के मेयर, ब्रैम्पटन सिटी के मेयर पैट्रिक ब्राउन के नाल भी गड्डियां चोरी ते, इंटरनेशनल स्टूडेंट्स से जो कैप लग्या उहदे ते, हाउसिंग क्राइसिस ते, और जिहड़ा गारबेज ओवरफ्लो हुंदा वार्ड्स के अंदर उहदे ते, और किद्दां उन्हां नूं सारी सिचुएशन लगदी है। आ सारे ते गलबात पैट्रिक ब्राउन नाल खास।
Mayor, you spoke about the international students cap, and now the Mark Miller immigration minister, he already announced the cap for 2 years. Brampton has the issue, as you mentioned, in different wards. The housing crisis was there. The overflow of the garbage is there. How happy you are with this decision of minister?
Well, I'm encouraged that the federal government's finally looking at a program that had a number of problems. What I'd really like to come out of this temporary freeze they have for 2 years is a plan. How do you link student visa approval with a housing address? Because right now, international students have become a cash cow, an ATM for colleges, and it's exacerbating the housing crisis in Canada. And frankly, it's not right to see international students living in horrible conditions. I can't tell you how often I hear about, 16 international students living in a basement apartment where it's, doesn't meet any proper safety codes. So if this is really such a critical revenue source for our academic institutions, the basic requirement for them should be to work with the students on a housing plan, so that as part of the visa approval process, if 16 people put the same house in Peel Village, there'd be a red flag and those visas wouldn't be approved because that house is zoned for up to 4 separate tenants. And so we can't have a system that doesn't pay any attention to housing. And that's what's happening in Canada. This is the Wild West for approvals, no plan for housing, and it's unfortunate.
Mayor, we learned that there are more than 200,000 students, those who are not even enrolled in the public universities or colleges. Do you recommend more steps to the federal government they should take so that any fake IELTS result, any fake documents, we have seen the Photoshop documents are there and there is no inquiry, there is very less number of deputation. So government should do more to clean this mess.
Well, I think that speaks to the lack of integrity in the system. It is the federal government's responsibility. There's a visa application. Make sure that it's not fraudulent. Just like I said, doing a basic check, is there an appropriate housing address? They could do other basic checks like, has the academic institution accepted this individual? Is it a fake acceptance letter? So I do think there needs to be more integrity to the system and checks to make sure we're not, seeing fraudulent activity.
Mayor, auto theft is a major crisis Canada-wide, and we have seen that last few years 300% rise into the auto theft. Now finally, the federal government, they announced the Federal Auto Summit on 8th of February. So with the different partners, how you see that?
Well, it's very encouraging. I've been invited to participate in the Auto Summit along with the Peel Police. This is something we've been speaking about for years. I think Brampton was the first city to speak out about the proliferation of auto thefts, and we've tried everything locally. Record number of new officers, the Faraday Pouch initiative. We're trying everything we can, tripling the size of our auto theft unit at the Peel Police. At the end of the day, we can't solve this locally. We need federal solutions, and there's 2 solutions I've been lobbying for. One, CBSA needs to do their job, and right now, our ports is where all these stolen cars are being sent out of Canada. We've become a source country for stolen cars, we only screen 1% of the shipping containers. I want to make sure the federal government has the same rigorous screenings that you see in other countries. The fact that we use the honor system, that you just have to sign a form saying, oh, I promise there's no criminal goods in this shipping container, is incomprehensible. I want to make sure we have proper screening, just like they do in the US or the UK or frankly, most other industrialized countries. Proper screening, ensure the integrity of our borders. The second thing I really want to see that comes out of the summit is I want to have real consequences for auto thefts. Right now, the three largest revenue sources for organized crime in Canada are guns, drugs, and stolen cars. With guns and drugs, if you get caught, you're in jail. There's going to be significant jail time. If you get caught stealing cars, it's a slap on the wrist. I want to see the consequences, the criminal code consequences for auto theft to be more significant. Because if organized crime knows that there are serious consequences in two areas and less consequences in the other area, they're going to focus their efforts on the area that is the most risk-free. And that's what we're seeing in Canada. Organized crime has doubled down on auto thefts.
So yesterday, the York Regional Police, they caught 52 stolen vehicles, valued 3.2 million, 11 people charged. So police forces are doing their best in their capacity with the resources. But issue is these repeated offenders. They steal the car, they are out. Steal the car, they are out. So where will this end?
So first of all, 52 cars that drop in the bucket. You see, like in Peel Region alone, close to 8,000 cars last year. So sure, the police are able to catch some of these thefts, but sometimes we're seeing the cars within 5 to 6 hours. They're in the Port of Montreal and out of the country. The port is the problem. In terms of the people they catch, some of these low-level criminals, that's what you see is the low-level criminals who are doing the thefts. They'll pay someone $5,000 to steal the car, but the gang will then resell the car for $100,000, and so it's a massively lucrative criminal enterprise for organized crime. But yeah, for those low-level criminals that may do the initial theft, there needs to be more significant consequences, and we don't want to see them let out on bail. I would note that the bail reform we had advocated for years just came into effect in January, so we'll see how the new bail system works with keeping criminals behind bars.
Yeah, finally, any message to the Bramptonians, and also since these are the crises we talk, the auto thefts and public safety and break and enters, and the AK car was robbed with the loaded AK-47. What message you want to give to the Bramptonians, and why next year we have elections, federal elections? So why all these policies before the elections? Because we passed 8 years and these things will continue. Now elections are coming and we see these kind of summits and these kind of actions are happening now. Do you think that it's a damage control by the government also?
Well, we don't know when the next election will be. The agreement with the Liberals and NDP expires next year, but that could continue beyond that. For me, it's not about election cycles. I just want to see these problems solved. And when the government listens and does the right thing, I will praise them. If they're not doing the right thing, I will very vocally criticize them. And so the fact that we saw movement last year on bail reform, good. Glad they listened. The fact that they now appear ready to come to the table on international students and also auto thefts is welcome news. I want to see the government listen. I want them to come to the table and accept our ideas and solutions. And so, I take the approach that whatever their motivations for coming to the table, doesn't matter. They're coming to the table. They're coming to the table.
Your message to the Brampton?
That Brampton's going to continue to be a city that solves problems. These are national problems, and Brampton continues to be the city that is the first to point them out, the first to provide ideas and solutions to how to solve them. And proud that we continue to be, frankly, helping solve Canada's problems in Brampton.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.